What's up, fellow gamers? Phreak here, and I wanted to talk about, as you can see in the title up there, buying Rageknife and Zeal on Senna. If you missed Sunday's LCS games between Cloud9 and 100 Thieves, there was some talk about FBI getting a Rageknife, which is the 800 gold component of Rageblade, and then a Zeal. And the discussion was about, was it better just to finish Rageblade, like to stop back and finish the item or not? Is it better to buy Zeal? And I basically said, like, look, this is a math problem. I cannot say definitively on air, but ultimately you get most of the on-hit value out of, like, just getting the Rageknife, and Zeal itself is a very efficient item, so there might be a real reason to stop over and buy Zeal and not go any farther. And so I spent a little bit of time doing some quick math. I'm as done with it as I want to be. I have basically solved the problem close enough to what I wanted to have happen. And for fun, instead of just tweeting about it in 100 characters or less, I wanted to do a pretty quick video, hopefully under 15 minutes, on why this build is correct. And if you want to close the video now, the TLDR is Rageknife into Zeal is very good. And then we can kind of spend some time to talk about some of the very weird specific interactions that might make you make other choices down the line. All right, so first things first, let's talk about what the interactions are. So Senna has, let's see, well, we'll start over here. Senna has 50 base attack damage. And we had to make some assumptions because every time Senna levels up, she gets more attack speed. As she gains souls, she gets more crit chance. She also gets more attack damage. And these change the math constantly, right? These constantly change the math. So you have to stabilize somewhere and just pick it. And so what I did is I went and looked at, actually there were 3 Senna games in the LCS playoffs on Sunday, and we had FBI doing Rageknife plus Zeal, which was 46 minutes into the VOD. We had Sven doing just Lord Dominic's Regard after Kraken Slayer. That was about 26 minutes, 20 seconds into the game, or 32:49 into the VOD. And FBI had a Rageknife and a Zeal once again in Game 3, which was 23:30 into the VOD, or into the game. Obviously, it's a cheaper item to get a Rageknife and a Zeal. That's actually pretty close together. He had pretty good money that game, which is 31:47 to the VOD. And I basically jotted down when I could find. I could never get the soul count for FBI in this game. The observer never clicked on him. But I basically said, okay, well, we have Sven, we have FBI, a level 11 or level 12. And I said, you know what, screw it. Let's just pick 80 souls in level 11 as our breakpoint. Because up until you hit 100 souls, your crit chance doesn't change. You get 10 crit chance every 20 souls. And I figured 100 is pretty late. 80 is reasonable. And I could have picked 90 to have more raw attack damage, but why? I'm not going to change the crit values. Who cares? I picked level 11 because, again, the 4% attack speed per level is not going to change your math very much. It's just picking numbers, but just so you know, this is the diligence that I did. I'm not counting in runes in all of my time doing these kinds of build maths. Runes are never important enough to be worth looking at. Whether you get another 9% attack speed because of your stat shards, it's not relevant. It doesn't matter. We're going to skip past all that stuff. But we pick some kind of breakpoints so we have at least somewhere to start and get our points in line. With that, the way Senna works is she has a 0.3 base attack speed, but a 0.625 attack speed at level 1. You combine that with a 4% attack speed growth, and she functionally has 243.43% bonus attack speed at level 11. This means further bonus attack speed is fairly devalued, right? If you had, for example, 0, actually, this is not bonus attack speed. This is 243% total attack speed, which counts 100% at level 1. So what this means, by the way, is functionally Senna as a champion at level 11 is the same as a Tristana with rapid fire on. It's about the same math where you get some AS from levels and some AS from other parts of your kit. In Tristana's case, it's her Q is active. In Senna's case, it's her base attack speed versus her attack speed at level 1. Basically, long story short, she has 143% bonus attack speed in terms of figuring out your calculations for how good is a further Zeal. Now, this matters because one thing that Rageblade has going for it is that it is a mythic item, which means it gives you 10% increased attack speed when you have a Kraken Slayer and a Rageblade. In addition to the fact that a Rageblade itself has more attack speed than a Rageknife and a Zeal. So there's these considerations to keep in mind, and so you actually do need to do these calculations appropriately. So I just jotted down basically what each of these components that I care about cost. As we kind of scroll over to center it, right? Rageknife, a full Rageblade, a Zeal. What is upgrade from a knife to a blade? Well, it's, this much more This, I didn't actually use this, by the way, so don't worry about it. This is not actually part of the calculations that matter, because it's not 30 AS, it's 20 AS. But again, I'm not actually using this stuff, so this line is irrelevant. Here's what Kraken Slayer gives. Okay, whatever. Keep in mind, like, bonus AD is a real stat, so if one of your builds has more bonus AD in there, you have to care about Kraken Slayer's damage on point. But what's worth pointing out, by the way, was basically the fact that we can keep it up for now. The only part that matters is the 2,000 gold cost. Is that going from Rageknife to Rageblade costs... Oh, sorry. It's 30 AS because of Kraken Slayer. That's why. The base item, 25 becomes 45, but you get 10 more from Kraken Slayer, so it's functionally 30 more attack speed, 20 more crit, 25 more on hit damage per 100% crit chance. And as we mentioned, the mythic passive is already filtered in here. We can actually kind of leave that line. Which, like, that can matter, right? But because going from knife to blade costs 2,000 gold, right? If that's our consideration for our build, we would need 2,000 gold elsewhere. You know, if we're, instead of going Rageknife to Rageblade, we can do Zeal plus Cloak and Dagger, and that's going to be the same kind of cost. So we're basically comparing a couple of different builds, okay? What it comes down to, and we'll go back over to this side, and actually it's kind of written down here, right? Our actual comparison builds are Rageknife plus Zeal versus the components where you go halfway to Rageblade. Because these cost about the same amount of gold. Technically, a Zeal combined costs 150 more here, but if you're going Rageblade and you stop at this breakpoint, you're at Rageknife plus Zeal versus Rageknife plus components of Rageblade. If you stop another 1,000 gold later, you have Rageblade versus Rageknife plus Zeal plus the Rageblade components, because it's actually the same build path in both cases. So these are the primary cases that we're considering. There's an asterisk here. We'll get to that later. So then we went and did the actual math. We said, okay, first of all, what do we actually have as Senna, right? Well, we have 80 souls, so we have 50 base attack damage plus 0.75 AD per soul is, I think it's 110, is the actual number. Yeah, it's 110. We said, okay, well, we're going to have a Kraken Slayer, and we're going to have the Scythe, the tier 3 support item. So that is another 85 attack damage on top. So we add 85. Okay, we're now at 195. This is our total attack damage so far. Okay, what is our baseline attack speed? Well, again, 243%. Okay, what is our expected crit chance? It's 40% because we've gotten 20 souls 4 times. That's 10% crit chance 4 times. So, okay, well, now that we consider the fact that we have a Kraken Slayer, and we have... actually, I want to point out one more thing. Technically, we should actually have a bit more attack speed here because the tier 3 support item is a mythic, so I should actually add 35%, not 25%, change the numbers a little bit. I forgot tier 3 supports are mythics. And then, again, counting our build, the fact that our Kraken Slayer has 20 attack speed on it, or sorry, 20 crit on it, our actual crit, right? So basically, here are our stats baseline once we're going to start pivoting into builds, right? We're done with Kraken Slayer, we have tier 3 support item. Our boots are more often than not Swifties, so those aren't DPS calculations, so we've ignored those entirely. And so we're at 195 AD, 278% total attack speed, and 60% total crit chance. So, okay, let's now start doing all of our 5 builds. Okay, let's say we go Rageknife. Okay, our AD doesn't change, our attack speed goes up by 25%, our total crit chance doesn't change, but we've converted, right? And 60% crit chance times 1.75 conversion would be 105 Rageknife damage on hit. Now, that's not completely true because Senna does not have normal crit damage, right? Senna over here gets 86% returns on crit damage. So instead of a 1.75 crit damage, he has a 1.5 crit damage, which is 86%, which means any crit calculation is multiplied by 86%. What that means is we take this 105 and over here, we multiply that by 86%. Sorry, let's scroll over so we can actually see it properly. Hopefully this is all on the screen. I realize I don't show my entire monitor. Again, so right here's the 86% for 150% crit damage calculation. And then here we have total physical damage. And we say, look, 105 times 0.86 is what happens. Senna has another interaction, which is her passive, is that she does functionally 20% total attack damage, bonus damage on hit. So Senna, very, very hard, scales off of raw bonus AD. She gets a 20% extra return on raw bonus AD. So that 195 is multiplied by 1.2. And the 105 is multiplied by only 86%. So that means her actual on-hit damage, where it would be 195 plus 105, well, 20% more in that one, 40% less in this one. Her total on-hit damage is 324. Kraken Slayer damage never changes, but hey, by the way, this is how you would basically do the math here, because Just trust me, right? Like all of Senna's base stats are in bonus AD. It's part of why, by the way, that Kraken Slayer is good on Senna, is that Kraken Slayer has a 60 base damage plus 0.45 times bonus AD, and a level 18 Jinx has like 112 attack damage. Senna has 50 attack damage and like 80 bonus AD from souls. That bonus AD filters into Kraken Slayer. And as we mentioned with our attack speed math, where did we put it? The 200% over here, like this is not any different from Jinx with her minigun wound up, or with Tristana with rapid fire online. It's not even that far from something like Kog'Maw with max rank Q. Like it's not that far off to be absurd. So Senna doesn't really have that bad of an attack speed scaling problem, because other AD carries with attack speed steroids run into the exact same problem, and no one seems to mind that, Blade of the Ruin King is good on Kog'Maw, because it is. Senna has more or less enough attack speed to where it's fine. It's actually okay. You're not really getting punished for going Kraken Slayer. Anyway, either way, Kraken Slayer indeed with the bonus AD is, well, more than any other champion can do with Kraken Slayer on 2 items or 1.5 items, 125 true damage on hit every third attack. Pretty good. All right, and our attacks per second rate, 0.91, not miserable. Not outstanding, but not miserable. Okay, so that's our baseline. That's with Rageknife. We say, okay, the build we're actually looking at is Rageknife plus Zeal. AD doesn't change. Attack speed goes up by 18% because of Zeal. Crit chance goes up by 15% because of Zeal, which means the Rageknife damage baseline goes up by 15%. We math it all together, and here we go. We now do 346 physical damage on hit. True damage doesn't change. Attack speed goes up quite a bit, 0.96 attack speed. And here's the first comparison, right? If we snapshotted Senna's build at Rageknife plus 1,050 gold, you would have a dagger and a cloak of agility on the Rageblade side, right? You're halfway there. You're not done with your item. You have room for 2 item slots. Well, your attack speed is lower because you don't have Zeal. Your crit is the same. You don't get the 7% movement speed. Your attack speed, again, is lower. Your total physical damage on hit is lower. But, of course, yes, indeed, you have less move speed and less attack speed. That's comparison number 1, which is going to be down here, by the way, for the calculations. Okay, what about Rageblade by comparison? Well, Rageblade costs 2,000 gold, but let's look at it. Indeed, there's no bonus attack damage, but we're getting 45% attack speed. In fact, it should be 55% attack speed. I don't know how I got this one wrong here. Because we're getting the mythic passive, there shouldn't be anything wrong with this. This should be the math. I don't see why this would be wrong. I realize I'm doing it live, and that means that there's room for error. I'm a human. I get some stuff wrong sometimes, but this should still be accurate. I don't see why not. If this is 25, this should be 55. That seems correct. Okay. Our total crit chance indeed goes up by 20% because Rageblade has crit on it. Our on-hit conversion is now 200 and not 175. So it's 160 before getting changed in calculations. We get a whopping total of 1 attack per second. Our Kraken Slayer damage still doesn't change because we have no bonus AD in the build past the Kraken Slayer itself. And our total physical damage on hit is 371.6. So, all right, there's that part. And then we say, okay, one more time, let's look at Rageknife plus Zeal plus the components of Rageblade, right? If we could spend 2,000 more gold to go from Rageknife to Rageblade, we could spend 2,000 more gold to get Zeal plus the components here. Well, again, the AD is the same. I honestly could have just given this out and never looked at it again, but whatever. Our attack speed is not quite as good. We're getting 25% and 18%, which is not as good as getting 55%. Oh, hold on. I need to pause for a second. Okay, I'm not stupid. So I told you there's an asterisk with item slots. So here's the interesting part, okay? Let's count Senna's items, all right? We're going to go down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have a support item, right? We have a Rage something. We have a Kraken Slayer. We might have a Pink Ward, right? We might have a Control Ward here. And it's like, okay, well, we can fit a Zeal. We can fit a Cloak, right? Or maybe we can fit a Dagger and a Cloak. Sorry, hold on. We're not done. We have Boots. Do we have a ward? Maybe, right? So here's an interesting thought, right? If you have a ward in your inventory, if you're holding control wards, because keep in mind, we're doing this for fasting Senna. And even if you're not playing fasting Senna, this sickle could be a Doran's Blade, right? Like, who cares, right? It could be Doran's. This changes calculation because it's not a mythic item, which means it doesn't get you 10% attack speed on Kraken Slayer. There's mathy stuff going on. But ultimately, right, the thought is, we're close on item slots here. So, like, this is a Zeal, or it's a Cloak of Agility, or it's a Dagger. And maybe if we don't have a ward, then that can be a Dagger, and we're fine, but we're running out of slots really fast, right? So this is Rageknife or Rageblade, Kraken Slayer, Boots. And if you're holding wards, by the way, you hit Zeal when a Rageblade build is sitting on Cloak of Agility. right? This is even better, right? So if we're doing a Zeal build, it's even better because we know we have at least one item slot. We have at least one item slot spare for something, and a Zeal is certainly better than a Cloak of Agility. As you earn the 2,000 gold to go from Rageblade to Rageknife, the first 600 is the same, the next 300 is the same, and then the next 150 lets you do a Zeal upgrade or wait. And the next 500, in both cases you wait, in both cases you wait, in both cases you wait, until this becomes Rageblade. And then once this becomes Rageblade, this item slot finally opens up, and it can be another dagger. It can go towards your rapid fire cannon or Lord Dominic's or who knows what, right? But that is a real consideration here because your slots are taxed. Okay, on the other side, if you are doing the Zeal build, right, and your Rageknife into Zeal, it's like, well, you literally don't have room for components, right, this cloak or this dagger or whatever, unless you're not holding on to a ward. So at the port where you do get to Rageblade, and Rageblade has opened the slot up, it's now got this item slot to play with, which is, turning its, starting on a rapid fire cannon or starting on a Last Whisper or whatever, where the Zeal build is still sitting here on Zeal, waiting for the next 2,000 gold to finish Rageblade. Which means sometimes there's not room for a cloak down here. So what I'm doing, though, is I'm saying, look, if I'm going to give the Zeal's primary competition, which is double component, 2 item slots, aka not holding a control ward, I'm going to give Rageblade's primary competition that 1 item slot as well. So I am not actually, even though you could afford it, even though you could afford the dagger, and I'm going to count that in the gold cost of the build to try to be fair to Rageblade, I am not counting the attack speed of dagger, right? This is the attack speed of Rageknife plus Zeal, which is battling the attack speed of Rageblade. This is the crit chance of Rageblade, battling the crit chance of Zeal plus Cloak of Agility, which is actually more crit chance, which means the on-hit damage is functionally identical because, 200 times 80% is basically the same as 175 times 90%, so these are coming into the same. But again, your Zeal build still has this attack speed, or this move speed on it, and here we go. So here are the actual calculations, all right? So Rageknife by itself, the physical DPS is 295, the true damage DPS is 114, whatever. Our real DPS calculation, I just considered a target with 50 armor as like our baseline target. That's not outstanding, but whatever. We're doing 2/3 physical damage. Here's a DPS. This is what a Rageknife gives you. I said, okay, let's do Zeal versus Dagger plus Cloak. Well, technically, Zeal, in fact, costs more money, right? It's 1050, not 900. Obviously, the DPS is higher because I literally have more attack speed. The true damage DPS is higher because I have literally more attack speed. Obviously, the cost is higher. The DPS is higher. But I also have 7% move speed as part of this build. Is this worth doing? Is this better? Probably. I would say so. Is 150 gold worth 20 move speed? That answer is yes, by the way. Keep in mind that Senna, her optimal boot choice over here is Swifties. Now, to be clear, the win rate of Swifties versus Berserker's Greaves is very, very close. They're within like 0.1%. Looking at Plat Plus support win rates for this patch, so it's close. It's pretty comparable. But that means it is worth spending 600 gold on just getting 25 more move speed than Zerk Greaves, right? Zerk Greaves gives you a bunch of attack speed, which is a DPS gain, of course. It still gives you a 20 bump, but 600 gold on just getting 25 more move speed than Zerk Greaves is a competitive choice. So 600 is worth 25. A Zeal giving you 7% bonus move speed, counting just Boots 1, right? Boots 1 gets you at 355. A Zeal is a 7% increase. Zeal is worth 25 move speed on Brown Boots. Zeal costs 150 over the components you're fighting for. If 600 gold is worth a 25 move speed increase, you certainly bet 150 gold is worth way more than a 25 movement speed increase. So even though this calculation isn't really including move speed onto it, we are more than making up for it, right? Zeal is outstanding in even more ways. In fact, there's a way to kind of think about this down the line, which is you can basically skip Swifties by doing Zeal and getting more or less the gain you would have gotten from getting Boots, and thus getting along your build faster. Now, that is not what I'm going to consider in this thing. We're doing a straight comparison, but it's worth keeping in mind that you really are getting, most of the value of this. Swifties are worth 45 move speed over Brown Boots. If my math is correct, maybe it's off by a little bit, but I'm pretty sure I'm right here. That's really, really good. So it's really worth considering. All right, so yes, Zeal in fact completely smashes Dagger plus Cloak. What about the other side of it? What about Rageblade versus Zeal plus Cloak? And I guess, yeah, we can either do 1650 or 1950. It's up to consideration, but, well, let's see. If I buy a full Rageblade, it costs me 3% more gold than Zeal plus Cloak plus sitting on money in inventory, right? This is the exact Rageblade power spike. The exact Rageblade power spike. Obviously, it still, yes, in fact, costs more than Zeal plus Cloak. Again, plus 300, which we'll just, I guess we'll just write in. The cost is 3% higher. The DPS is 4% higher, right? Here's the calculation, basically, right? Here's the DPS calculation. It's about 4% higher, ultimately. And you know what? And you know what happens? This one has 7% move speed on top. Guess what? We're still winning, right? Looking at the like super power spike for Zeal, we're crushing it, right? We're absolutely crushing it in the power spike for Zeal. We spent a very little bit of money on a combine. We got more DPS and we got more move speed. We go to the power trough here and fight the Rageblade build, and we're still fine. All right, the DPS calculation is a little bit lower, right? We lose 4% DPS for 7% move speed. In my opinion, it's not close. Yes, technically, yeah. If you're really only optimizing for damage per second, maybe spending money on attack speed is in fact not outstanding. But in a real game of League of Legends, where you in fact care about things like movement speed, because that's a DPS stat and a cutting stat and a survival stat, it's not close at all. This is the better build. You should go for this build. And we'll do one final kind of denouement here, which is talking about power spike timing. So again, even in the worst possible power spike timing, it's completely comparable, right? It's a completely reasonable build to look at and say, yeah, actually, this is fine. This looks completely fair. I'm okay trading 4% DPS for 7% movement speed. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Like straight up, right? That seems reasonable. This is an okay trade to make. If you really don't want to make the trade, then I guess don't. But basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is, right, it depends on when you really want to draw the line in the sand and say, no, this power spike means more than that power spike. Because the first power spike that comes online is Zeal versus Dagger plus Cloak. And it's really not close, right? It allows you to spend money. Because keep in mind, like, there's another power spike at, 1,500 gold or whatever, where I can buy Zeal, and then my next component of Cloak, or 1,600 or 1,700 or whatever, right? So, I mean, 1,650 is when Cloak comes online, but 1,350 is Zeal plus Dagger. Like, I win this power spike, I win this power spike, and I win this power spike by a lot when I do a Zeal build, right? It actually keeps getting better. I'm still growing because I have room for at least one of these items. I have room for Zeal, or I have room for Zeal plus Dagger, or I have room for Zeal plus Cloak. If I'm doing Rageblade, I have none of these. I only have this, and I'm waiting for another 1,100 gold. So if you're trying to draw the line, like, where's my power spike? Where's my power spike? Where's my power spike? Like, Zeal builds from these components. So, like, the first 900 gold is identical, but you have power spike 1, power spike 2, and power spike 3. And then when Rageblade comes online, yeah, maybe if you want to ignore movement speed, maybe that power spike is better. And then Rageblade starts building towards a rapid fire cannon, and maybe UK, right? Then the next power spike is 2,000, plus its dagger, plus whatever. Like, maybe that happens, right? But even that's debatable. Like, to even call that one better is somewhat debatable, because again, I would still argue that Zeal, Cloak, and Money in Hand is better than Rageblade straight up. That's what I'm going to suggest is actually true here, and that's why I'm going to very vehemently defend that the Zeal build is actually quite nice. Because you're getting what you pay for, and it's quite good. The last thing I'll bring up, and this is not in scope for this video, is the idea that Lord Dominic's Regards, which is the build that Sven went for in Game 2 of the build, may in fact be better. Because keep in mind, you are still getting some value out of using actual crit chance, whatever your crit chance is, which is going to be, call it, I guess, 60%, right? If your total AD is 195, and you're getting, 50% bonus, because of crit damage, and you're getting, 60% of the chance that's happening, you are kind of getting 58 on hit damage from 195 total AD, 60% crit chance, and your actual crit damage, right? 195 becomes, 90 bonus damage 6% of the time, which is about, 60 damage on hit. I mean, by comparison, right, this is, what is it, 0.83? So, like, you are improving it, right? Turning actual crit damage into on-hit damage is a factual improvement at 195 attack damage. Like, this is not up for debate. Rageknife is, in fact, giving you, functionally 30 more on-hit damage, which is very, very good. Absolutely, right? Totally defensible build. But Lord Dominic's gives you the ability to have armor penetration, which can be, it's like 35% armor pen, and then another 15% potentially bonus physical damage. And Senna has very, very low base health and very low health scaling, and she's a support, so she's under-leveled, and so champs have more health than her. And so she can maybe make up, this damage pretty easily, right? She can turn, can she get 7% more damage from armor pen? Yeah, she can, right? Not to be fair, this is after Rageknife already exists, so, whatever, but, like, yeah, it's actually not hard to get damage out of Lord Dominic's. There's a very good chance that Lord Dominic's second is actually even better than a Rageknife Zeal build. That's a different video for a different time. It's a different calculation for a different time, but there you go. Hopefully this was entertaining and useful. Let me know how you liked the video. I'll see you next time.